rich like us with a full stop, and rich like us with a question mark. That is what will be the capsule summary of today. Hello, this is Hina from Team Test, and today we shall discuss Rich Like Us, a novel published in 1985 by Nayantara Sahgal. Look at Nayantara on the screen. Born in 1927, she is an acclaimed Indian writer who belongs to a very influential family. At least when the time she was a teenager, she definitely did. Her mother, Vijay Lakshmi Pandit. Does this strike a bell somewhere, Vijay Lakshmi Pandit? Jawaharlal Nehru's sister, remember? So her mother is Vijay Lakshmi Pandit, and Vijay Lakshmi Pandit was the first ambassador to the UN. So imagine the politically influential family Nayantara has grown up in, okay? She has seen it inside completely everything, right? Now, Sahgal received Sahitya Academy Award in the year 1986 for Rich Like Us. And this novel has dual focus, which means it talks of two things. First, civil disorder and corruption during emergency. Do you remember the period of emergency from 1975 to 1977? When elections and civil liberties were suspended, India was completely down with rights because people had no rights. All the rights were in the hands of the government. Yes? And the second focus of this novel will be internal conflicts in a businessman's family. Who is that businessman? Ram. So the conflicts in his family we will know about. Okay. Now, setting of Rich Like Us is New Delhi in the year 1970s. Basically, it covers the span from 1930s to 1970s. Okay. And narrator is Sonali. Who is Sonali? I'll tell you. You just remember she's an IAS officer. Okay. So Sonali and a third person omniscient narrator, which means present everywhere. And the narration goes in flashback. They are talking about the past. Okay. So there are two narrators in Rich Like Us. Shall we start with the novel? Yes, we can. We should. Rose. Who is Rose? Rose is born and brought up in a London's working class family. She is quick-witted and strong-willed, which means Rose is an English lady, okay, an English girl. She meets Ram at a chocolate shop and instantly loves him, begins to love him. Ram is an Indian, a very wealthy Indian. Ram is a powerful Indian businessman. He fancies everything European, okay? Now, there's one time in the novel, Rose buys an old postcard of Sithara after Ram compares India with Sithara. You will ask, what is Sithara, Hina? The island of Sithara, according to Greek mythology, is the birthplace of Aphrodite. Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty. Okay. So Rose loves Ram so much, and Ram talks such awesome things about India, that India is the land of love. In India, everybody is loved, everybody is cherished. It is a beautiful country. Rose has never been to India. Remember this. So after this, what happens? Rose marries Ram and comes to India. Here, Rose begins to live the life of a second wife. Because in India, Ram is already married to a woman named Mona. So now look at the setting. They have a big house. They are wealthy people. Rose lives on the second floor as the second wife. Mona lives on the ground floor. Mona is a very submissive wife. You know, she's compared with Sita from Ramayana. And there is a time when Mona also, tries to commit suicide. I'll tell you about it. Now listen to Ram, his nature. He loves both the women. He loves both his wife. And also, he has an affair, a very brief affair with a woman named Marcella during his marriage to Rose. So what should we call him? Who is he? A Casanova? We don't know. Now, Rose struggles to find home in this foreign society, which is called India. She sees that ancient customs, orthodox rituals are prevalent here. Sati, she does not understand. She feels like an alien in this society. And moreover, she feels an alien in her own house. Why? Because of Dev. Who is Dev? Ram and Mona have a son, Dev, and daughter-in-law, Nishi, who is Dev's wife, obviously. Dev is a spoiled brat who works less and gains more due to his strong political connections. He dislikes his stepmother, Rose, who is critical of him. And Dev also thinks that Rose has overshadowed his own mother, Mona, in the house. When Mona tries to commit suicide, however, Rose saves her. And so the two women develop a gentle friendship, which is definitely not liked, which is despised by Dev. Okay? Now let's come to the protagonist, the real heroine of the novel. We were talking about Rose till now. Now let's talk about Sonali. Remember I told you the narrator Sonali? Sonali is the protagonist of Rich Like Us. She is a young, highly educated Indian civil servant who wants to fight corruption in the system, who wants to settle everything right, who wants to work according to the law. She is against the system of arranged marriage. She's a very progressive girl. And so she goes to Oxford for higher studies. After completing here her studying in India, she goes to Oxford. What happens in Oxford? Love sparks, I will tell you. She reconnects with a man called Ravi Kachiru, her childhood friend. They become lovers and get engaged. Ravi is an ardent supporter of communism, for which Sonali shows a little bit skepticism. It's not that she likes dictatorship, of course not. She hates it. But then she says, you listen to the quote and you'll understand why she, skeptical about communism, the kind of communism that Ravi is favoring. Sonali says, I did admire Ravi's commitment, but I could not understand why we had to keep cutting and pasting Western concepts together and tying ourselves to them forever, as if Europe was the center of the universe and Marx was the last word on mankind. Yes? Now, their relationship drifts apart when they return to India. When they return to India, Sonali feels that she cannot continue with this man who is very dominating, who wants that his views should be listened. So they break up. Okay? There are thunderstorms. Can you hear? It's raining heavily here. Okay, listen to this now. Ravi engages himself with the ruling party, the autocratic party. Can you imagine? Ravi, who is the ardent supporter of communism, now is, because of power, connecting himself with the party, which will bring emergency, which will take away the rights of the press and the people. Is that hypocrisy? So Ravi engages himself with the ruling party, while Sonali becomes a highly competent civil servant. Sonali and Rose, they become friends. You should know this. They are friends, okay? They are related. Sonali, like Rose, feels lost in this new India when the autocratic rule, once so condemned by Ravi, comes to power with his support. During the course of the novel, you should know this, Ram gets a stroke. Ram, you know Ram, right? The husband, the single husband of Mona and Rose, he gets a stroke. His health deteriorates and Rose nurses him all this while. But she also realizes that without her husband's presence, she has no identity as a wife. In India, a woman is a woman because of her husband. A wife has no identity of herself. She can feel that strong patriarchy around her. Dev schemes to take all of Ram's assets because Ram is feeble in health. Dev forges his father's signature and he tries to kill Rose. Can you imagine? Because of the greed for wealth and power, Dev wants to kill his relative. In fear, Rose turns to Sonali, her friend. Now, Sonali does something out of her office, out of her duty. With an upright courage, Sonali refuses to grant permission to open a factory by Dev. This factory is a factory of a fizzy drink called Happyola Factory. Okay. Sonali thinks that she has done her duty well and she will be appreciated. But let me tell you, this factory was backed up by politics. The political people, the strong people wanted this factory to come. So instead of getting appreciation, Sonali receives a transfer letter. she receives an order which will actually bring an end to her career. Shocked, Sonali says, quote, "The emergency has finished my career, but suddenly I think I did not want a career in the crumbling unprofessionalism that bowed and scraped to a bogus emergency." Now, listen to what happens to Ravi. Ravi, who gets married to a politically influential woman, replaces Sonali as the joint secretary because Sonali has lost the job. Remember, she's fired. And Sonali's job comes to an end. Her career comes to an end. Sonali's father, who owns a shop, is sent to prison apparently for no reason. In emergency, you could not ask, "Why are you putting me in prison?" You cannot ask. Your rights have been taken away. Sonali's father is in prison. Rose is killed tragically by the goons hired by Dev. And her untimely death leaves Sonali depressed as she remembers her own grandmother who was killed in the year 1905. Rose has lived in India for almost 40 years and she dies a brutal death. We're coming to the end of Rich Like Us. How does Rich Like Us end? Marcella, remember? The brief lover of Ram, she offers to help Sonali. She and Brian, her husband, encourage Sonali to take up a research project on the 17th and 18th century of India. She's so intelligent. Sonali is so intelligent. She's so bright. So they tell her, "So what, you've lost your job? Come on, research on India, what real India is. Research on the roots of India." What happens to Ravi? Ravi falls from political grace. He loses his power. And then he tries to turn to his old ideals again. Looking at him, the change in him, Sonali comments, quote, "Kachiru becoming Ravi again, of friendship resuming, of love having been really love and not a mistake he had been trying to forget." Yes, here we are coming to the end of the novel. I've given a little bit description about the title. What is the meaning of Rich Like Us? What does it mean? Rich Like Us takes its title when a businessman in the novel named Mr. Newman comments for the poor in India that if these poor do like what we do, they would be rich like us. Ironic. I don't think the poor will be able to become rich until the rich want to help the poor, until the entire democracy works in the correct manner, until the ideals of constitution are at place. Everybody gets the correct opportunity. Yes? On the contrary, Nayantara says the rich are not really rich. They are also trapped in a web of corruption, power, and money. Sahgal also depicts the plight of the poor because in the novel, there's a beggar who's always around Rose's house. Nobody really likes him. Everyone ignores him. Nobody wants to help him. It's just Rose who feeds him, who wants to help this handless beggar. And this also shows the image of India somewhere, the poor image, because Sahgal vividly describes two Indias here: the India of the rich, the ruling elite, and the India of the poor, who have been denied the fruits of India's independence, right? So Nayantara basically is not giving rich like us as a phrase. She's giving it as a question mark. Rich like us? Do we want to be rich like us? And we're done with the novel Rich Like Us. I hope you liked it. As you know, our series of Indian literature, which means Indian writings in English, is going on. I'm taking up the most important novels which are asked in NET, SET, and other important exams. They will really help you. If you liked it, if you want any other novel summary that we should take up, you should tell me. This is Hina from Team Tess. Do subscribe to our channel if you haven't and share it with your friends and relatives. Bye-bye.